how to truly fix the housing market for all people in Canada and make it more fair. What I'm about to talk about isn't just theory. It would work to fix the housing market. If you're a Liberal or an NDP voter, you're probably not gonna like this video, but just stay with me, please. Something lately is off. Canada. It's where I grew up, made friends, fell in love, saw the birth of my child. Our people are struggling financially and they're more divided than ever. The middle class is getting eroded by the day, and the polite and accepting Canadian mentality is something I'm beginning to forget. With the cost of food, gas, and most importantly, the rise in housing costs,
the rent is too damn high.
Our economy needs a lifeline, and running a country is a complicated and loaded position. But I know how to fix the housing crisis in this country if I were Prime Minister. So a quick background on me. When it comes to social services, medical, and socio-economic policies, I tend to vote Liberal. But I tend to vote Conservative, especially economic, fiscal, and monetary policies. So I kind of think of myself as an independent, and if I were to kind of place myself, it would probably be closer to a libertarian. Free market, smaller government, and letting capitalism truly be capitalism. Not this crony capitalism that we currently have.
Admiration I actually have for China, because basic dictatorship.
Moving more and more towards socialism. So with that background being said, I'm now going to discuss how I would truly fix the housing crisis in this country. Keep in mind, I've been a full-time realtor and real estate investor since 2012. Bought and sold over 150 properties. So straight up, I understand the housing market, boots on the ground, more than any housing minister or politician in a fancy suit could ever know. The first thing I would address as Prime Minister is taxes are way too high. I'm talking about real estate specifically. Canada is losing investors and housing providers by the day who are selling their properties, taking their money, and literally fleeing Canada and going to put that money to work elsewhere. This is exactly what I did, and now I'm investing that money into the United States because the tax rates just aren't competitive. Now, if you're more on the Liberal or NDP side, you're probably thinking right now, who cares? Let this guy go, good riddance. But this is absolutely terrible. If you think that way, you honestly don't understand Economics 101. The more investors like myself leave, the worse this is actually going to be for the housing market, especially the rental housing market. Think about it. Kitchener-Waterloo, which is a decent sized city, not too big, not too small, lost 50 rental houses just from me alone. If there's less and less housing and more tenants who need to rent, more millennials, more lower class people, more middle class people who need to rent. But if we're all selling our properties off, that creates a lower supply. There's less houses to choose from. And what do you think honestly happens when there's less houses to choose from and everybody needs a house? Landlords like myself who are still in Canada are thinking, wait a second, if I got 40, 50, 60 applications and my rent is, I don't know, $2,000 a month, this is a really hot demand property. How about I make the rent $2,200? Okay, so the applications drop from 40 to 20 people. What if I make the rent $2,500? Okay, now we're down to 7 applicants who are willing to pay $2,500 a month. What if I make the rent $2,600? And now we're down to 2 people fighting over it. And what do you know? This is how the rise in rents is just going crazy, is because we don't have enough rental houses because nobody wants to invest here with these tax rates. Tax rates for investors who are selling off their properties are paying a capital gains tax of 50%. 50% of the money we make goes away to the government. So I don't know about you, but I don't really want to risk my credit. I don't want to risk my mortgages. I don't want to risk me potentially going bankrupt to only keep 50% of the profits when I can go invest in the United States, Florida, and Texas. Why? They're great booming economies, but most importantly, I'm paying 0% state tax and I'm paying the IRS typically about 15 to 20%. So my tax rate in the US is 20%. I'm instantly getting a 30% raise for doing the exact same thing that I would do here in Canada. Let's say you make $25 an hour working at company A, but if I said, hey, instantly, if you work at company B, I'm gonna give you a 30% raise, a $7.50 raise. Would you not instantly take it? You're doing the same duties, it's the exact same job, you got the same office, office, the same chair, the same computer, you're doing the exact same thing, but instantly, I'm gonna pay you $7.50 more, a 30% raise. Now, be honest, tell me what you would do. So if you're not kind of understanding by now, that's a big problem. And this is truly one of the main, if not the main reason why rents are skyrocketing. So what would I do? If I were Prime Minister, understanding that we have a housing crisis, I would lower taxes for investors. For people in the investing industry, I would lower their taxes to 0%. Yes, 0. Now, Liberal NDP voters, don't freak out just yet. Understand, this isn't permanent, it's just to stimulate the housing market to get more investors back into Canada. I need to incentivize these investors, these developers, I need to incentivize them to come back and stay here. And what incentivizes people the most? It's money. You need money. You do a lot of stuff to get that money. You get out of bed every day at 7 in the morning. Who wants to do that? I'm gonna give you a 0% tax rate for the next few years. We'll see how the housing market stables out. And when it kind of gets more stable, supply and demand get back in check, we'll revisit the tax code and we'll see what we can do then. The second thing I do as Prime Minister is crack down on provincial and municipal building. It takes so friggin' long to build a house in Canada and get it passed, get the permits, and also the development costs are absolutely atrocious. So just to build one nice little single family home, it can take about 6 months to a year in most municipal cities to get your permit issued. The development charges can be anywhere from $15,000 to like $20,000 just for one house. In Florida, where I'm investing, permits can be issued typically in about 2 to 4 weeks, very, very quick, and the development charges are a few $100s. There is just so much friggin' red tape in Canada. That's Canada, that's Trudeau. Make it more streamlined and get these houses pumping out faster. The other thing that I would do, which is not gonna be popular, guys, we gotta blow into that green belt. I know, dude, I'm like a hippie millennial. I love trees, I love being outside. I get you, I feel you. But here's the facts. Canada has so many friggin' trees, so much fresh air that we're already a carbon neutral country. We can spare the little amount of the green belt. By not expanding the GTA cities into that green belt, we're artificially creating this crazy monopoly where prices are just going crazy because there's no supply. Everybody's fighting over the little amount of houses on the market in Etobicoke, North York, Toronto, Mississauga, Milton. We can grow these cities out and build more houses by lowering those fees. We're gonna have more houses to choose from, which is automatically gonna lower prices. This is economics 101. The more supply we have, the more people have to choose of all these houses. So what's the point of fighting over houses? Why do multiple offers? Why do bidding wars? Third thing I would do as Prime Minister, smackdown of a lifetime on the Ontario Landlord-Tenant Board. It's been 20 years of the Landlord-Tenant Board getting their way.
We're gonna tighten shit up. We're gonna tighten shit up.
Do you understand that tenants can stay in properties easily for 6, 8, 12 months without paying rent? They can smash their property and never get evicted. It is absolutely asinine as a housing provider to deal with rules like that. I put up the money. My name is on title. I got the mortgage. My credit rating is at risk. Everything is at risk. My whole life, if I go bankrupt, if you don't pay rent, is at risk. Think about it and get this. The biggest housing provider in Canada, and especially Ontario, it's not these giant corporate companies who own all these multifamily buildings. Is everyday Joe mom and pop investors who own 1 or 2 single family homes, and they can't afford tenants not paying rent for months and months. They can't afford that. I'll be honest, in the 12 years I had these 50 rental properties, I never ever had a bad tenant. I've only had one case where a tenant didn't pay rent. They had something come up in their life, no big deal. They pay like a week or 2 later, I believe. Super smooth. And I kind of credit that and kind of give myself a little bit of this because we provide very nice housing. I buy properties and I fully renovate them top to bottom because I know how the rules are in Ontario, and I really want to attract a super high quality tenant who has a nice family. They got a career, they got aspirations. The last thing they want to do is smash my house and not pay rent and deal with me suing them and blah, 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 blah. I truly think that's why I got lucky and got these great quality tenants. But even with all of that good luck that I've had, what if I ever had a tenant pull these games where they can just keep pushing the court date and everybody involved, all the police officers, all the sheriffs, everybody's in line with the tenants. Why would I risk doing that when in Texas, if you don't pay rent, you got 3 days to get out. And if you violate that 3 days and you don't leave, the sheriff literally comes in 1 to 2 weeks max, and he'll literally drag you out. This is not your property. You didn't pay rent. No appeals. I don't want to hear your story. That's what Ontario needs. Think about it this way, Liberal and NDP watchers, if you're still even watching this. What happens if you don't pay your Rogers bill? Can you push that Rogers bill for 6, 8 months, 12 months and go, please, I got this happen in my life. Like, I know life happens, okay? But Rogers is cutting you off. What happens if you don't pay your car payment? You think you can just extend your car payment for 6, 12 months and get away with it? They're taking that car back. What if you don't pay your credit cards? You think Amex, you think MasterCard, you think Visa is gonna go, oh, no problem. I know you got stuff going on. I'll give you a year, interest free. No. You're going bankrupt. You're gonna pay. But you can't even pull what tenants are pulling for a $300 Rogers bill, $20,000 credit card bill. But for a $600,000 home, you're gonna bankrupt the potential owner because you don't wanna pay rent and you can get away with it? No, not anymore. Is actually hurting the very people that these politicians are trying to help. Politicians have no friggin' idea what they're doing in the industries that they're trying to meddle in because they're not in them. Number two, they truly don't care. So what ends up happening is called these unintended consequences. In Canada, the king and queens of unintended consequences. You're trying to make rental housing more safe, more affordable, give the tenants more rights. What you're doing is alienating the people who are supposed to be providing these houses. Let the market decide. Stop meddling. Stop fooling around with policies. Let the market be the market. And more often than not, the market decides and dictates where price is, where supply and demand should be if you just leave it the fuck alone. Anyway, guys, let me know your comments below. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you hate me? Do you want me to die? I get all these crazy comments. Anyway, guys, let me know in the comments.